Year-old grew up in St. Louis but moved to Bourbon, Missouri to be with his daughter. The Crawford County Sheriff's Office says he earlier this month trying to invade a neighbor's home. King's family tells the I-Team witnesses told them Justin just passed through a neighbor's yard trying to catch a dog and that he was by the man that lived there. They say something doesn't add up.
He don't deserve to like that. Never in his life. He doesn't deserve like that.
He was a loving individual that loved everybody. He was a lover, not a fighter. So I am appalled that you call my son someone that came into assault.
The sheriff's office was closed today. Earlier this week, it released a statement saying it appeared to be an act of self-defense, saying King invaded his neighbor's home. Members of the NAACP were also at today's rally, hoping to draw attention to what they call a pattern of failures by some local law enforcement to investigate suspicions like King's. Police in Crawford County continue to investigate, but so far, no charges have been filed. For the I-Team, PJ Randawa, 5 on your side.
All right. Peace and blessings, ladies and gentlemen. Peace and blessings. All praises to the Most High. Again, I am Richard Taylor with another familiar, disturbing story. It's like it's Groundhog Day right now. Here is the story of 28-year-old Justin King, who lost his life at the hands of his 40-year-old neighbor, Eric Barber, whom other neighbors in the community, family, and friends said that these two were friends and socialized often. Now, of course, I would be remiss not to mention that Crawford County, Missouri, where this happened at, is 98% white and like 0.14% black. And so you can pretty much tell where this story is going to go. Now, as you saw from the article, the 28-year-old man moved close to be with his daughter, whom you see him there on the screen right there. Now, it looks like to me that is a mixed daughter, so the mother of the child may or may not have been black, but that's part of the story. But the main part of the story is how they are saying that this event happened. Now, Eric Barber, who was right, 40 years old, said that he and Justin had been helping a neighbor look for some dogs in the trailer park. Mind you, it's a trailer park. So he had been helping this other neighbor look for some dogs, and he and Mr. Barber, whom they didn't really mention in the article, in a couple of articles that I mentioned, because he was never charged, man. And this happened November the 3rd, 2021. And within 2 months, they have ruled this an act of self-defense and justifiable. But let's continue with the story. So they said that after they found the dogs, Justin, 28-year-old black man, seemed agitated because, according to the neighbor, which is the only story they have, Justin was agitated because whoever had lost the dogs blamed him for letting the dogs off the leash. And so this neighbor, Eric Barber, said that he went to Justin's house to, quote unquote, calm him down. And they have video footage from Justin's house of the man in there leaving, and, you know, they're dapping each other up. And Justin, according to the man, according to the authorities, and according to the video, says, all right, man, I love you, bro. And the guy walks out and goes to his house. Now, they're saying after this, about 45 minutes later, Justin King all of a sudden runs across the yard to his neighbor's house and starts bamming on the door. Doom, 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 doom. Bamming on the door. They said he bammed on the door for about 20 seconds. And when Barber didn't come to the door, they said Justin walked off the porch and walked halfway back to his house. And then the man says he ran back to his house, knocked on the door again for about 15 seconds. And then when he knocked on the door that time, he busted in. He, as the article says, made entry. So, according to Mr. Barber, the shooter, he says that when Justin made entry, he and Justin got into a confrontation, and so they were somehow fighting inside the house. And at one point, the guy said he went to retrieve his .22 Magnum pistol, and he put it in his pocket. And so then he said, he re-engaged with Justin, and they started fighting, in which they stumbled on the porch, and Justin got on top of it. And that is when he said, he fired the first shot, hoping that, it would cause him to quote unquote disengage. Then he fired a second shot and then a third shot. And so the first shot, they said, hit him in his leg, and the third shot hit him in the shoulder, pierced his heart, and then they got him coming out of the house. Oh, it was like a covered porch. So everything was happening on the porch, the fight and everything. So they're claiming that they can't see anything inside the porch. And so he stumbles outside, falls down, the ambulance were called, and then, he later succumbed to his injuries. And the neighbor, Barber, was taken to the police, initially questioned and then released. And the sheriff department put out a statement saying that it looks like the incident was justified. Now, the neighbors, all of the neighbors have a very different story. They're saying that the neighbor, Eric Barber, fired upon Justin King in cold blood while he was running around the yard looking for the dog. Now, that is a totally different narrative than what Mr. Barber says. So the sheriff, now mind you, this happened in November the 3rd. On January the 11th, a coroner's inquest ruled that it was justified. Now, if anybody knows anything about a coroner's inquest, a coroner's inquest is put together just to see what the cause of his demise was. It's not to determine if a crime was committed. That is up to the grand jury, right? Nevertheless, this 6-person coroner's inquest was chosen directly by the sheriff of the predominantly white town. And he says that these are good, law-abiding citizens who have no relation to Barber or King. Of course, they don't. But he frames the narrative that this had nothing to do with race. Now, I assume all 6 people were of the Caucasian persuasion. And so they deemed this, and they did not even look at the photos of, the young man's body, because the sheriff said, well, according to the point I just made, the sheriff said, well, they don't need to see the photos. Everybody knows what bullet holes look like. Yeah, so how are you going to tell just by doing the coroner's inquest if the man justifiably unalived our young brother? Now, the NAACP and family members have a lot of problems with the way they investigated the case. The father said they did more trying to defend him, and by they he means the prosecutor. They did more trying to defend Mr. Barber than trying to find justice for their son. They said that both houses had video footage of the incident. Both houses. However, they said they only showed the footage from King's house. Now, mind you, the shooting happened at Barber's house. And so they only showed the family the videotape from King's house out of quote unquote respect for King's family. Now, have we heard that before? A lot of these unalivements, especially with the Javion McGee case, you remember the coroner told his mother, well, I don't think any mother should see their child like that. Who are you to decide? Especially if it's going to prove or disprove the narrative that is put out there. Nevertheless, the family said they were refused to see the videotape of what the incident, the house where it happened at. Now, that would ease the family, right? That would confirm or deny Mr. Barber's testimony. Nevertheless, the sheriff refused the family to see those things. Now, the local activists, the NAACP, some pastors came out and noted, all of the inconsistencies of the case and called for a federal investigation because once again, the only thing that they did have was a coroner's inquest. That is not a true investigation. And once again, that goes to the modus operandi of these small towns. Like I said, the county only has about 20,000 people. I think the city of Bourbon has maybe 700. I'm not sure, but it was held in Steelville, Missouri. The inquest in Steelville, Missouri. So you have neighbors disputing the fact that Justin was bamming on the door, and as the man said, Justin told him he was going to effing unalive him. But neighbors dispute this. Mind you, it's in a trailer park, so the walls are thin. And if that would have happened, many of the neighbors would have, heard that. But, there's no evidence that he said that. So this case is yet another case of small town sheriffs, law enforcement, juries, grand juries, investigators, prosecutors allow white people to literally, not figuratively, but literally get away with the M word as it relates to young black men. Now, the man, Justin King, leaves behind a daughter, 28. You see his father and his mother there. So he definitely had a support system. Said he moved there to be closer to his daughter. And certain neighbors said that Eric Barber was known to be a very violent man and had expressed the desire to unalive somebody. And so despite all of these testimonies, despite all of the inconsistencies, this sheriff picked out 6 people who were known to him, very well known to the sheriff, to conduct this coroner's inquest, which ruled that Barber was justified in the demise of our young brother. And so The people down there, they vowed to continue this case, but since January the 22nd, I can find no information on it. So I'm sure that this man is pretty much still scot-free, and the family is still mourning the loss of their son, Justin King, as well as the daughter is mourning the loss of her father, Justin King. And, one of the advocates, one of the pastors there, summed this up perfectly. He said there's a climate of vigilante justice, white man against black men, and the law is protecting them. The law is justifying them. And that is what we see in the case where literally the law, the sheriff, has put together this farce of a inquest and basically justified the shooter in taking the life of our young brother Justin King. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Prayers, peace, and condolences goes out to the family of Justin King and his daughter. Much love, peace, and blessings.